Next, I would like to discuss shuffle fills. There's two different elements I'd like to elaborate on, and that's the full-time shuffle and the half-time shuffle. Now, if you remember from our note value section how we had the 4 quarter notes per bar, if you have a full-time feel, like in this case a full-time shuffle, you would be playing on all those quarter notes. So a full-time feel, you'd be playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So it'd be sounding like this. In our latter examples, I'm going to be doing a half-time shuffle, which if you just listen to the music, you won't really catch it. It could just seem like it's a slower tempo. It depends on how the music is written. If it's written in a way that it emphasizes beats 1 and 3, that will be the half-time shuffle, because it's basically playing emphasis on half the bar as opposed to all the way through like a full-time. So I'm going to play it back and back. I'm going to do 2 bars of full-time shuffle, and then I'll go into 2 bars of half-time shuffle. There we go. So you can see in the half bar feel section, these are different feels. There's half time, full time, double time, quarter time. But right now we're just doing with full and half. With the halftime, it's just half as many bass drums and snares, typically speaking. You can add in ghost notes and stuff, but we're just talking the general feel of the section. So first of all, we want to talk about full-time feels. And this full-time fill starts with a bass drum, 2 flams on the floor tom, first tom, second tom, floor tom, snare. That last part of the fill, I like to start with the left hand because it goes down like that. So I'm not doing a crossover thing, okay? Bop, 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 bop. So the fill just goes like this. Now, with some music. Now on the next full-time feeling fill, just starts flam on the snare, 2 crashes with the bass, 2 flams between the floor tom and snare, 2 basses, crash with the snare. So it goes like this. And now with the music. You notice sometimes when I come from a beat to a fill, I don't play the last part of the beat. I don't do this consciously, it's just, it helps for more of a flow of the transition. Sometimes if you become so religious that you need to play the last part of the beat, it can be really difficult to get into a smooth transition into the fill. So sometimes in a triplet thing or in a jazz thing, I just leave the last part of the ride out or the hi-hat just so it can flow more into the fill. On this fill, we have flams on the toms with 2 beats off the bass drum. So we got right hand flam, snare and floor tom, 2 bass drums, right hand flam, first tom, second tom, 2 bass drums, and it just repeats itself. So the fill sounds like this. The tricky part with this one is at the end there's 2 bass drums, but then you have another bass drum with the crash back into the beat. So you got 3 in total. So if it's a little bit too difficult with the track, just do it by yourself a little bit slower, just trying to work up that 3 beats with the bass drum. So let's try that now with the music. Now I'd like to explore a little bit of the halftime shuffle. Now in doing these fills, you kind of want to have a little bit more emphasis on the 1 and 3 because that's where the emphasis of the feel is. On this first halftime fill, there's an accent scheme which really sets up the halftime feel. So I'm going to play that for you just on the snare so you can get kind of a feel for how it goes. And in producing the accents, you want to make sure that your sticks come up as opposed to being low and having to work really hard for the accent. It's to deal with the economy of motion. If you have a higher stroke here, you'll be able to produce a louder note. So I'll play the accent scheme just on the snare, leading with the right hand. It goes like this. Now, on our first fill, starts on the floor tom, and then it starts with a pickup on the let of 2 on the snare. Goes like this. Now I'll do it with some music. On this next fill, it's easier to lead with the left because it's between the 2 toms here, the 3 toms, sorry. It's same accent scheme, so I'll play just the fill for you. You can see how it works with it being developed around the toms, like this. So same accent scheme, left hand lead on the toms. Now I'll play with some music. On our next halftime shuffle fill, I'm using the same accent scheme, but just kind of developing the fill a little bit more. Basically, accents are on the toms. Right-hand accent will be on the floor tom, left-hand accent on the small tom, unaccented notes on the snare. So the fill itself goes like this. So now with some music.